The Kailasa Temple is a huge Hindu temple in Ellora, India. It is one of the most interesting and impossible structures on Earth. Now, to start with, it is literally carved out of basalt rock, an extremely hard rock that requires specialized tools even today to work with. The temple is not built out of blocks or pieces like the Great Pyramid of Giza or like any other structure in the modern world. It is located on a slope, and the slope is solid basalt, which again is a really hard rock. And to build it, something had to cut downward into the ground of solid basalt to carve out the temple. The temple is below ground level, and again, it is not constructed from pieces that are assembled. It is totally carved out of, or excavated from, basalt rock. A large, single basalt rock. And if that is not amazing enough, it seems like every square inch of the temple is covered with extremely intricate carvings and writings, all, again, carved or sculpted out of the same single large basalt rock. The only modern-day comparable situation would be building something with 3D printing, where a machine moves around and constructs a solid thing with a complicated shape. So, something strange occurred to build the Kailasa Temple, and now you are going to know exactly how it was built. I'm Courtney Brown, director of Farsight, where we study the perceptual process known as remote viewing. Remote viewing is a mental process that is done using highly structured methodologies that are derived from those developed by the United States military and used for espionage purposes. But Farsight is civilian, and we use remote viewing for scientific experiments and for exploration. This new project conducted at Farsight employs remote viewers who are among the most experienced and highly trained viewers existing today. The remote viewers all describe much the same thing, all corroborating reports, and it is worth emphasizing that the remote viewing was done totally blind, and none of the remote viewers communicated with one another about the project during the data collection phase. Even their final presentations were recorded on video with no one else in the room. This is not science fiction told through riveting remote viewing, conducted under defensible, clean, scientific conditions. This is as real as it gets. So let's start with the basalt rock. Basalt rock is harder than normal rocks because of its high mineral density. So tools needed to carve basalt rock typically have carbide tips. And those tools would almost certainly be connected to something like a heavy-duty hammer. Now, the carver needs to use great technique with these tools in order to avoid damaging the tools themselves or the rock, and it is not easy to carve anything out of basalt rock. And professional stone cutters today would use power machinery that utilizes diamond cutting blades. So you can see cutting basalt rock is not something that workers from an ancient primitive society could easily do. And then there is the issue of timing. No one knows exactly when the Kailasa Temple was built, but that does not stop archaeologists and other academics from confidently positing when they think it was most likely built, which many think is about 756 to 773 CE, or AD as it is sometimes called. There is no inscription on the temple that dedicates the temple to a particular person, which is really odd for such an elegant temple. Now, many people have made connections with various kings and deities when guessing what they think might have happened and who the temple was built for. But these are just guesses, and no one really knows anything about the temple's origins. The temple is so amazing in its construction, you would think that whoever built it would have written an inscription somewhere that would indicate who it is being built for. But there are no indications that this was ever done. Moreover, it seems like the narrative of guessing when the temple was built is made out of the same thin air as theories of how it was built. All we have are guesses that are based on very hard-to-swallow theories. And the only fact that we have to work with is the actual temple itself, an extremely complicated and artistic structure carved below ground out of extremely hard basalt rock that could not have been carved at all using the tools that were available to ancient builders. So the origin of the temple is a total mystery, and no one really knows who built it, how it was built, why it was built, or even when it was built. Again, there are theories, but given the facts on the ground, none of the theories seem reasonable, at least not to me. Now, all remote viewing sessions have a target. Obviously, the remote viewers do not know the target when they do their sessions, but you will need to know the target when you watch them describe their perceptions. So I am going to tell you the target. For this project, the target goal is to observe the construction of the Kailasa Temple at the Ellora Caves in India. There is one focus for this target, and the focus is the construction of the Kailasa Temple at Ellora Caves in India. Now, Subject A is the most senior supervisor of the construction of the Kailasa Temple. Now, there obviously may have been more than one senior supervisor of the construction of the temple, but whatever it is, we want to see who is basically in charge. And we will put text up on the screen for you to remind you of these meanings when you watch the sessions. Always remember that Farsight is data-driven. We never present or rely on he said, she said information, and we never accept official reasons for anything. We often find that official narratives, whether they come from the government, academics, celebrities, or other notables, simply are inconsistent, or they are based on very biased perspectives that ignore or twist what those people don't want to consider, or more importantly, what they don't want you to consider. Simply presenting you with the facts and then letting you decide what you want to believe is quite old school to these people. People who seem to gauge their success on how many followers they can amass. But in this respect, Farsight is old school. We believe in looking at the data objectively and then letting our audience decide for themselves. So let us present our data to you so that you can make up your own mind. We have 4 remote viewing sessions for you today. These sessions were all conducted by some of the best and most highly trained remote viewers existing today, and all under totally blind and scientifically defensible conditions, using instrument blinding protocols, which is superior to blind or double-blind. Watch and listen to these sessions closely. The answers to many of the questions that you may have can be found in these data. And after you watch all of the data in these sessions, I will return to pull everything together. We start with a session from Intisam, and then Aziz Brown, Yeme Genet, and finally Shantae. Here are our perceptions of how the Kailasa Temple in India was actually constructed.